Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here today. We have a very, very special presentation from the ATSU Library telling us about all the help they can give us with our publishing requirements. We have the library director himself, Hal Bright, who will be walking through all the resources the library has. Mr. Bright doesn't need any introductions, but he is the director of the library, and he's also the ASTO and the ASHS PA liaison librarian.
Correct.
So I will let you take over. Thank
Thank you,
you.
Dr. Roy. Hello, everyone. If I've never met you before, just let me give you a brief introduction. I've been here at AT Still University for 12 years now. Been a quite a ride. I started out as the electronic resources librarian, doing all the vendor contracts and managing those types of resources. I became the director of the library. And when I became the director, I also became the dental liaison librarian. And then when the California campus was created, I became the campus creator, the liaison for the PA program there. And when one of our librarians left last year, I became the PA librarian here as well. So those are my current roles. My primary role is director of the library. Today I'm going to talk about, let me share my screen. I'm sorry. Share my screen here. And I'm going to ask you to log in here. It's a Mentimeter um, uh, presentation, so it does have some interactive elements here. And I'm going to click on here, and then I'm going to put it in the chat. So if you want to open your chat, you can click right from there. Let me see here. Where is the chat? It hides when you're on multiple screens. So if you click on that link that I just put in the chat, you can log in to my presentation. Give me a thumbs up when or just click on thumbs up when you're logged in. And then there are not a lot of questions here, but I'm trying to make this interactive. So I'm going to discuss library resources for publications. I'm going to focus on two of those mostly. Our institutional repository, where you can deposit your final publications, or our our transformational agreements that allows us our subscription to help pay the open access APC fees that when you want to publish open access, the publishers charge. So I am going to talk about other things as well and how we can help you through the whole publication process, but I'm going to focus most of my comments on that. So the first question I have here is, which of these services have you used from the library, and how often do you use them? So leave it alone if you've never heard about it, and then scroll all the way to the right if you use it every time you need it. So literature searches for faculty and staff, the library searching for you, library citation databases. So that's still one search, or any of our other databases like CINAHL or DOS or PubMed or anything like that. Data management plan consultations, systematic review or scoping review help, um, predatory publication inquiries, um, journal publishing inquiries, using library subscriptions to pay for your open access publishing fees, or archiving your articles or posters in Still ScholarWorks. So go ahead and fill out those um, questions, and then you can give me a thumbs up when you're done with answering those questions. I had about 7 people log in and give me thumbs up. So when I get to about 5 or 6, I'll just know that you've all voted. And I will put in the link right there. You can just click on that link. I know the chat can't see the chat. You click on that link if you want to join our conversation online. Okay. Oh, no, I have 3 people who have voted, 9 people. 9 people have voted. Okay, so good. I'm glad people are using their library citation databases. I'm glad that you are using librarians to help you with your searches. We can always do that. That's a service we give all faculty and staff. So if you're not faculty, staff, you can use that as well. Um, so let me talk about some of the other ones because I'm not going to spend a lot of time on those other ones that are not the last two. Um, as part of the NIH agreements or the changes in the last couple of years, I think it was 2 years ago, you're required to have a data management plan in order to um, maintain your data and then share your data once your research is done. We are able to uh, put together that plan with you and help you create that plan. You need to identify an open access repository for your data. You need to identify how you're going to handle that data. All that has to be done before you actually as part of your grant submission. Recently as well, our last research nexus was about the biosketches. We're now uh, offering that support on how to get connected because it's a little tricky to get connected to that biosketch, and so we're offering that as well. We do offer systematic review and scoping review help. We have 2 levels of help. We have one sort of standard librarian stuff track of how to help in a systematic review, and then we have co-authorship, in which we do quite a bit more actually in uh, that review process. So systematic reviews, scoping reviews, rapid reviews, any of those type of reviews. Myself, I've done a systematic review and a bibliometric review. Leslie, who's on our staff, has done almost every type of review manageable, and she's constantly doing different scoping reviews and systematic reviews across the university. Journal publishing queries. This is not something new. I've been doing this for the whole 12 years I've been here. We can help you identify journals. You say, I have this article. I don't know where I'm going to publish it. Where are some areas I can publish? I take those keywords. I can even put the full text in Scopus or other databases. It'll tell you where those articles are being published in the highest ranked journals. It'll give you the impact factor of those journals, because if you publish in higher impact journals, it'll be more widely disseminated. But we are able to do those type of consultations. And then predatory publication inquiries, that's a relatively new thing in the last decade, probably. People ask, is this a good journal to publish in or not? And we give you a metrics. We don't tell you yes or no. We just say, these are the good things, these are the bad things, and you need to make your own decision. Um, we're going to talk about using library subscriptions to pay your open access publishing fees. That's the main purpose of this talk. And then also open access, another type of open access is publishing the regular way, but depositing either your submitted version or the accepted version or the final version in the ATSU institutional repository, which is called Still ScholarWorks, so that is available um, sooner and not behind a paywall in the longer term. Okay, that is enough talking from me. Okay, how the library enables open access publishing. So there's 2 main ways. The library has entered into several subscription agreements that pay for open access publishing fees of related faculty, staff, and students. As always, restrictions apply. And then the second way is the library also maintains an institutional repository, Still ScholarWorks, where faculty can place their published articles in an accessible site. Again, restrictions apply. Let's talk about those 2 things. Um, how do you define open access? What is your definition of open access? It can be open education, open access, open publishing. The world's the limit on these things. Keep it short because we don't want to be here the entire day. We could write entire paragraphs and dissertations on this subject. But what is oh, free. That is a very well worded response. Not quite true, but well worded response. It's free to access, maybe. That might be a good way to put it. Available to anyone. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, available for free. Yeah. Excellent. That's the goal, I think. That's the nirvana that a lot of people live in. Hopefully no fees to publish and available to everyone. Can find online for free. Yeah. Okay. Um, I'll wait another 10 seconds if anyone wants to continue answering. Okay. Um, Here are some definitions we're going to play around with. Open access, free availability of research articles online, permitting any interested party to read, download, copy, distribute, and that's supposed to say print at the end. APCs, that stands for Article Processing Charges. These are levied by open access academic journals to cover the costs associated with publishing. There's a big debate behind those. I'm not going to go into that debate. They're just there. They can be anywhere from $500 to up to $6,000. I've seen them up to that high in the higher journals. A transformational agreement. Now, this is a library geeky term. This is a subscription that includes read and publish elements that typically support open access. So our typical subscription in the library is just a read access agreement, not a publish agreement. The transformational part is that it allows us to read and publish in those journals that are covered by our agreements. And then the last definition, institutional repository. It is a digital collection of research outputs created by, it's supposed to say academic institution, but I put ATSU because I didn't have enough character space, by ATSU providing open access and preservation of those research outputs. That includes articles, posters, dissertations, capstone projects, etc. Okay, why publish open access? So one reason is an increased visibility and impact. OA open access articles can reach a wider audience, leading to more citations of your work. It has been over and over and over again in the literature, I won't say proven, but shown that open access articles or articles that are available in open access format have higher citation rates than those that are not. Um, Now impact factor, um, impact factor plays a role in there, but really that is generally agreed upon in the literature. Enhance public engagement. Open access can make research more accessible to the public, fostering a greater understanding. Improved discoverability. Open access articles are often indexed in open access repositories and search engines, making them easier to find. And then research equity. Open access can help overcome financial barriers to access, particularly in lower income areas. Um, that includes lower income areas in the United States and other first world countries, or countries with lower income areas. How can the library help you? There's 4 areas that I want to talk about. Identifying open access journals. Typically, that's easier than it was in the past. Most journals have a hybrid system that you can publish open access. So in the past, it was just you were either open access or not open access, but most journals now have an open access component. So that's less likely, less important as it used to be. We can identify publishers which have transformational agreements with ATSU. Right now it's only 3, but in the future I anticipate that to grow. We can pay your APCs for you in those subscriptions. And then we can have you place your article in the ATSU library repository. So those are 4 ways that we can help you open access. So question, I don't expect you to know the answer to this, but what are the types of open access? Gold, green, diamond, red, blue, yellow, steel, aluminum, brass, or teal, mauve, orange? There's no right or wrong answer. No, and this is anonymous, so just go ahead and guess. Okay. Green, gold, and diamond is the correct answer. So if you want to change your answer right now, you can go in and I don't know if you can change your answer, to be honest. Can't remember if I allowed that. But the answer is green, gold, and diamond. Um, green, Gold Access is a purely hybrid journal that authors pay a fee for open access. So any type of, and there's different levels of gold access, and we're not going to go into that. But basically, the author pays a fee, it's open access. Green access is that authors can self-archive after an embargo period. So almost every journal has a green open access policy. Typically, if you want to do this, if you want to submit to our institutional archive submitted version, um, that's okay. I mean, see the accepted, let's see, submitted, accepted. So submitted is usually okay with no embargo. Accepted usually has a 6 month to a year embargo. And then um, a lot of journals allow after a year for the published version of the article to go up, but usually it's just the accepted version. That's the part without the edit, without the formatting, but it's been edited by the journal and everything's ready to go except all the formatting. Um, Hybrid journals are a mix of gold and green. Um, that's the majority of publishers now that are not open access. They're considered hybrid. So um, they allow you to pay a fee for open access, or they allow you to do this green version of after an embargo period, you can do the submitted version. And that's going to be important in our hybrid, in our qualifications for journals that are qualified for certain amounts of our agreements, particularly Springer and Cambridge. And then Diamond. Diamond is fully funded by the government inside your NIH grant, and there are no fees involved because it's funded through your grant. Okay, what journals have you guys published in? Name one or two, that's fine. Now, while we're doing this, I want to do a commercial for the library. You probably all have gotten the open access emails that we've been sending out to the faculty and the students. I haven't been sending them out to all Open Mesa and all Open Kirksville because there was a duplicate. So if you're not getting the emails, email me now and I'll send you them, because we're sending 5 emails about open access this week, about this entire subject. And there's a contest at the end. It's a trivia contest that you can participate in on Friday. So email me right now if you haven't been getting these because you might be staff as opposed to faculty or not connected to one of the schools, and I'll send you those 5 emails so you can participate in those in that trivia contest. But all of these journals that people have responded to, all, I would say 99% have an open access option. Now, whether we can take advantage of the open access option is, at least on the APC side, fee side, is another story. But all of them have an open access availability to you, whether it be publishing open access, or depositing your submitted, accepted, or final work in our repository with an embargo period on it. So all of those, that is the funny thing. All of these things can be done open access. So one of the email we sent out yesterday, we gave a whole example of journals that you can publish in. I went into my publishers and I did some dental journals, and these are all the dental journals. I had a list of 30 dental journals just out of 3 publishers that are available for us to publish open access in. And we also are able to um, pay those fees to publish open access in those 3 journals, all these journals. So British Dental Journal, Medical Education, Journal of Dental Education, Journal of Clinical Periodontology, Dental Terminology, Traumatology, International Endodontic Journal, Australian Endodontic Journal. Go on, European Journal of Dental Education. All of those are published by one of our publishers that we have an agreement with, and you can take advantage of those APC fees in our subscriptions that will pay those APC fees. Now, all the information, and I'm gonna go into this because I want to go through some of the I'm gonna click on this right here and that's gonna open this window here. We have a whole library guide on how to do this. Um, what open access is, who are the agreements by, the list of eligible journals, and we change this every year because it does change every year what those journals are, and it has to be within the calendar year of the so if you're thinking about publishing and wanting to take uh um advantage of these fees. We're not changing the journals. We're not changing any of the subscriptions we're going into. We're renewing all of them, but the journals may change publishers and that may make them ineligible for this. So you need to get those in before, I would say, beginning of November, so that they it's when they're accepted, I believe, is when those APC fees are due. So um that's the time. The timing is sometimes uh a problem, but all of these journals, we're not getting rid of any of these. So we have agreements with Cambridge, Springer, and Wiley. So Springer and Wiley are a big deal. They publish thousands of journals and they cover all the journals that they publish in. Now, the only caveat to Springer is that they don't cover purely open access journals in Springer or Cambridge. So they only cover hybrid journals. So they're the typically the typical journals that have a subscription fee or a paywall. You can go the open access gold route with that journal if they offer it. Like I said, 99% do because it's a revenue stream for them. But but it allows them, but we will pay those fees, or at least the subscription that we do as a consortium pays those fees for you. Um, some of the restrictions are, it has to be in a hybrid journal or listed on this journal right here. And you have to be either the primary or the what do you, the what's the C word? The author that's submitting the journal piece. I can't remember what that's called.
Corresponding author.
Corresponding author. Thank you. I was going to say contributing author, and that was not the right word. So you have to be the primary author or the corresponding author to take advantage of these fees. So that is the one. We can't just have every article that we're like the 15th author on. That would not serve everything. Well, it wouldn't serve the publishers will. So I mean, that those are the two things. You have to be the corresponding author or you have to be the first author. Now, Wiley, so so Cambridge and Springer only hybrid journals. Wiley is every journal that they publish, hybrid and open access journals. There are some society journals inside of those that aren't qualifying. They'll be listed at, not listed on the lists. So some of them might not be there that they publish. And there are some brands like Nature isn't included in the Springer side, some of the Nature publishings. Scientific American, which is a separate brand in the Springer Nature field, isn't included. Uh, um, uh, in Wiley, I think they took over the Hindawi journals, and that those aren't integrated into that yet. Contract, it will be in the next year or so in that contract, but they're not ready to do that yet. So there are some exceptions in all those, but all the journals that are eligible are here. If you run into a snag when you're doing this, immediately contact us. We have contacts with my with the person who negotiated this journal with us at a consortial level in California, and they know the ins and outs. And so if you get snagged somewhere in the process, immediately call us. We know where to go to find out what the information is that we can to help you along. Okay, I think I skipped a couple of my slides here, so I'm going to go back to Mentimeter here. How to take advantage. Email the librarian. We will walk you through it. That is my best advice. Look at the list first of all, see if the journal that you want is there, or even email us and see if we can check the list. But that is my best advice for that, and that's going to be my best advice for doing something in the repository as well. Do we have any questions right now on APC fees and library subscriptions? I have one more slide, I believe, on this. or I don't. Where did it go? Okay. My last slide was we were the three publishers we have. Wiley, which is everything, Springer, and Cambridge, which are hybrid journals. And this is something my staff doesn't even know. I just found out Sage is coming down the pike as well. So I don't know if Sage is going to be in this current year or if it's going to be in the following year after that. So Sage is coming down the pike in one of these agreements as well, and we will take advantage of that and be part of that agreement as well. Um, and then BMJ case reports isn't technically open access, but because we are members of BMJ case reports, people can publish for free in there. You can't publish open access for free, but you can publish for free inside of case reports. And that's really important for a lot of our students and also faculty when they're doing case reports. They have dental case reports, they have every other specialty. They even have some rehabilitation case report groups in there as well. Not many, but there are some. I asked last time. Okay, I didn't hear any questions, so let's go to Still Scholarworks. This is the name of our institutional repository, and I'm just going to go up to definitions again and talk about our definition. An institutional repository um, is the digital collections of research outputs created by a university providing open access and preservation. Um, so I'm going to skip over to Skill Scholarworks, and I have a question for you. Have you visited Still Scholarworks? And if everyone says no, I'm not going to be hurt. That's not a big deal. Hey, four yes, one no. I'm pleased by this. More than half has said yes. So thank you very much. Um, okay, why use an institutional repository? It's the same sort of why use open access to publish. It preserve IR institutional repositories ensure a long-term preservation of research outputs, safeguarding them against loss or damage. So that's one thing. Institutional repositories provide easy access to research materials, making them available to wider audiences. Um, there's an equity in component in there, the same equity component for open access. If you make it available in the institutional repository, it also available uh, uh, on the open web. Dissemination. Institutional repositories facilitate the dissemination of research, promoting visibility and impact. And then institutional branding. This can enhance an institutional's reputation and visibility in the academic community. That's mainly our reason for having one, and the university's reason for funding an institutional repository is institutional branding. So let's take a walk of Still Scholarworks. Still Scholarworks lives right on the library webpage, right here under Still Scholarworks repository. And then inside of it, you see our collections. Now, if you go to capstones and dissertations, um, mainly these are OT dissertations right now, and they're working on getting their, not dissertations, capstones. Um, they're working on getting their 2024 capstones up. I'm working with other departments to get their dissertations and capstones in there, or research posters. But you can see right here, there's a sort of a map, and you can see where people have downloaded the papers. So there's 16.7 in the last, let's see, in the last, there's been 2,555 total downloads in the past year, 2,322, and there's 67 papers. Um, it's supposed to have a very interesting idea of how it's downloaded, but so if I click on one of these, it goes into the the um the actual abstract, and then when you click on the over here, it downloads the actual document, and you can read the document there. And that's how an institutional repository works. It organizes by year. It also goes down drills down into school and program. So if we can see here, these are the Arizona School of Health Sciences. We can do audio. Let's not do audiology. Let's do OTP DMSC faculty. So, oh, sorry, empty. I apologize. I thought let's do AT. So here's AT. Here are all the publications for AT. What I'm doing is I'm going faculty by faculty and downloading their Scopus, their works from Scopus. And I'm doing this and letting people know. And then inside of here, I'll be working with the authors to hopefully add their open access, either their submitted version or their accepted versions, going backwards in time. So the earlier I get to them, the uh, uh, faster I get to them. My goal was to, as 2024 goes along, is to contact the authors and ask them for um, uh, uh, copies of them to add to the repository. But the nice thing about the repository is that you can go in here and here's Dr. Bacon, and it creates a whole list of what we have for her in the repository here. And this goes back to 2018. It's certainly not a replacement for digital measures and what we have in digital measures, but it's a place where we can place the um the the actual um file on the PDF file that allows people to access those documents. Or if it's open access, we put a link to the document and point them to the document. Okay. Let's see. Also in here we have a student-led journal called Intellexus by Soma students. We also have a ATSU history, which we're working on right now. And then at the special projects, I think we have lane talks. We can also put different uh, various things. I mean, if you have a series of lectures you want posted in an open access environment, we can do that. We can do, these are sort of a set of lectures that um, Dr. Spikerman has done, and he's posted these on our repository. We also have a place for data sets. If it's too large, we'll refer you to an offsite data repository. There are some size limits with our repository, so not all types of data sets are available. And then here, I think I'm listed. Oh, I have submitted my article from the summer here. It just hasn't been accepted yet, apparently, but I submitted it. And so that is how still scholarship works. If you go into all faculty publications, you'll see that they're here. Here's one that's been submitted as a PDF. You click on it and I believe it'll just download the PDF version of it. And then you'll see that we have a few here. So this is a place where you can submit your work and allow dissemination. This repository is through a vendor who is very specialized in this and has Google crawling their website all the time, and it's very um, noticeable on Google. So when people are looking for research, it's going to show up in your search results and it's going to be findable. Let's see. Uh, how to take advantage. Do you notice that it's a repeat of what we talked about? Email us and we'll walk you through submitting the process. Sometimes I just say email me your document and we'll submit it for you. We don't want to make this a hard thing for you. We want you to submit. We do have to look up what version you could submit according to your journal agreements when you signed your uh, journal rights. But we have a database that does that for us, and so we can do that. Okay. I think that was my last slide, Dr. Roy. Any questions about um, the repository um, or APC fees? Or I'm going to just do another shout out to our librarians. We can do literature searches for you. We can do citation databases searches for you. Um, we can do data management plan consultations. We can help with your systematic review and scoping review. We can do predatory publishing inquiries, journal, where can I publish inquiries, and what journal's the best for me. Using library subscriptions, we can even help you set up your ORCID ID. ORCID ID, I call it ORCID ID, but it's an ORC ID, which is really important in when you're publishing out now. Or we can help you pay for your APC fees or archive your article or poster. Thank you very much for your time. Um, any questions? I keep on saying any questions and no one's popping up saying any questions. So
I have a question.
yes.
So my question is about the repository. So for example, for students to have the work of students going
Mhm.
into the repository, do they have to follow a specific format, or what are like
No,
the instructions on
anyone,
that?
so to submit anything to the repository, I'm going to share my screen again. Um, it's pretty easy. Down here, right here, it says submit research. You click right there. There's a whole bunch of things. You have to choose which one you want to be in. Um, if I haven't set up your school or program under Ashes, um, or if there's not a link, I'll need to set that up. But you just click on, like if you have a student publication in ASDO, you click on there, and then you just fill out this. And it looks like for this, I have you contact me. But
Okay.
for faculty publications, for instance, I allow you to fill out all this information here. It's basically filling out the metadata, but I can do it way faster because I can scrape the Scopus data. So this is a self-service type of thing, but honestly, I prefer us to doing the entry work, which is why I have on student publications, email me. And
Okay.
that email goes to me.
But
Do you understand what I'm saying or?
yes, yes, but I think that this that you are showing right now is for articles that have been published or
Yep,
accepted somewhere. I'm thinking more about student research.
capstones. Yep,
Yes, like capstones or or final
posters, those
projects.
type of things.
Exactly, those
Yep.
kind of things.
All of those things are accepted into the repository. Anything that's done as a capstone, we don't accept research papers per se. Does that make sense? Well, so like a 5-page essay on something, we wouldn't post that. But
Yeah, of course.
we encourage any papers or posters that they've done in their classes, like as a capstone or as a final project. We encourage that type of submission. In
Okay.
fact, we are actively collecting that in OT. I'm working with AT to move their stuff from can't remember what it's called. It's a Cubify, I believe, is the platform they're using. Moving some of that over, not the entire thing, because Cubify has its own archive, but I'd like to move that over in a modified format and then pointing to the Cubify poster that they have available already. So we have active projects with AT. Um, uh, I do, whenever I see posters in the research newsletter or a student article, I invite them to submit to the repository as well. So um, yes, does that answer your question, Dr.
Yes.
Barragan?
So yeah, so this will just contact you so that we can include them there
Yep. Hmm.
whenever we have them. Okay, thank you so much for that. And then
No worries.
my next question is,
Yeah.
you have there a database uh, title. What in the repository? What would go there? What is that one for?
Let me see here. Let me just go to the repository and see what you mean here. Databases, data sets.
Oh, data sets. Yes.
Data sets is, so I did a journal article that was published on library textbooks in osteopathic medical schools. Um, or actually the required textbooks at osteopathic medical schools. And we have a data set. And that data set's going to go into the repository as a place where people can access the data and play with it and use it in later, that's what the data is. Sometimes you don't want people to have access to the exact data, so you'd put in a you'd put in a you'd put in an abstract of what the data is, describe it, and this is how you can get it from me, or this from the author. This is the contact information to get access to that data. So sometimes the data is, has personal stuff and you don't want people to access that
Mhm.
type of thing, but it'll give them reference to where to go to the data.
Okay, so nowadays there are some journals that are requesting the authors to include a link to the data
Correct.
that to the raw data or to the data that so that the readers can have access to it. So
Yep.
so this could be used for that. So if I
Correct.
have my data, can I put it there
Perfect.
and include a link to the journal where I'm
Yep.
submitting the paper? Okay, that sounds
Exactly.
great.
Okay.
Okay, thank you so much.
That's a perfect case scenario for the data sets.
Okay.
So how we have a few questions. I have a question I'm going to ask because it's related to the scholar works here.
Okay.
Is it citable? Is anything that's put on scholar works? Is it citable if it's found it can be found in Google Scholar?
I would say if it's its final resting place, yes, like a poster or a data set, yes. If it's the actual article, you would cite the article published. So in articles that have been published, we are supposed to put in the final citation data, and you should use that citation data that is the final place of that article, not the actual repository data, because it's not the final resting place of the data. The journal of record is the place where the published article is. We just have either a submitted or accepted version of it, and then and it links to the actual citation area. Now I have had people say, when I'm doing interlibrary loan, I sometimes say, hey, I can get the accepted version for you. Do you want it? And they'll say yes, and that'll get them to it faster because it's free on the web right now, as opposed to waiting for another library 2 days. But you should always cite the final published version of it if it's a published article somewhere.
But if I want to use something published on Intellectus, for example, I can cite it.
Correct, because it is a published journal.
Okay. Okay. Good.
Because it is our published journal, so it has DOIs assigned to it. It, I'm still trying to figure out what happened to it, but I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. It was active for a year, and it wasn't active much last year, I think, or in the last something happened. I still need to get to it, but yes, it is published, and if posters are there, you can cite that as the final resting place of the poster because it's not anywhere else. So
oh, excellent. Yeah,
yeah.
that's very good to know.
Yeah.
So we have two questions on the chat. One from Dr. Fick. Where do dollars for fees come from? Departmental budget or some other line item? And the second one is from Dr. Freeman. Would you share a bit more about the predatory publication inquiry? Is this primarily for primary authors' benefit or to assess if others are attempting to plagiarize?
Okay. Dollars for fees. So the APC fees that we cover are part of a way to transform the agreements into open access agreements. So we don't see a big rise in our fees for that. It's usually just the typical 2 to 3 to 4 or 5%, whatever it might be a year, increase. What it is that there is a negotiated number of APC fees that are covered through that agreement, and sometimes they're capped and sometimes they're not, depends on the agreement. So the earlier in the year you publish, the more likely you're to be accepted. We've never gone over our cap. We are part of a library consortium that called SCELC, the Statewide California Electronic Library Consortium. It's basically the private college version of the UC Systems Library Consortium. You've heard of them, and their Elsevier Tough In fact, our Wiley agreement's in conjunction with the UC system there in California. But and they do the negotiate. They have the know-how. We pay a little fee to have them do that. And their goal is to have all of our journal contracts that go through them to be transformational agreements in the next 5 years. So that's a good Taylor and Francis is in discussions with the university, not university, with the consortium. Sage, I know, is already in talks, but so those fees come from the library. The APC fees that are covered by our subscription are coming from the library, not more than our normal budget for the agreements that we pay already. So those are sort of baked in. I have heard that if you want to use APC fees outside of those agreements, there are 3 sources. Your own professional dollars, you can use those for the professional development dollars that you have that are allocated to you as faculty. I think that's, you have to make sure with your department that's okay. There is a small fund, I don't know who's in charge of it, across the university that does cover APC fees. Dr. Roy is going like this. Do you know who's in charge of that?
Yes, that's the sponsored programs people.
So the sponsored programs has a small fund. It's not very big. And it's I don't know if it's competitive. I don't know how those dollars are doled out, but if you have any questions, we can probably have I'll find the answer and I'll put it in my slide deck. How's that? And then you can bake them into your grant proposals. So that's how many people fund those dollars, is putting that into your grant proposals, is an APC fee line for APC fees. People don't even blink twice about it anymore. In fact, it's required in most NIH grants to write those into your grants. But I hope, Dr. Fick, that answers your question. Dr. Freeman, I'm going to ask you what you mean. I'm going to tell you what I mean, and I'm going to ask you if that answers the question. So predatory publishers are open access publishers that are in it for the buck. Their peer review process is shoddy at best. They are there to collect fees and publish you, no questions asked. And that's what predatory publishers are called. That's my definition of predatory publishers. Now, there are some publishers that I would have called predatory publishers before and have worked their way up in credibility, and they're no longer predatory publishers. And so, or maybe I perceived them as such and they never were, but their reputation has gotten better. So what the typical question to me is, okay, I see this journal, they're open access, or they're not open access. I want to publish with them. Are they a reputable journal? That's usually how the question comes out. They don't usually say, is this a predatory journal? It's usually, is this a reputable journal? So I'll go into Scopus, I'll go into PubMed, see if they're indexed in those 2 databases. There's an open access a consortium of responsible open access publishers. I'll see if they're in that list. There's a list out there of, it's a defunct list, but it's still list nevertheless. I'll see if they're on that list. It was person who created that list was sued by the publisher. The school said, stop it, we don't want to be sued. He stopped it, and now it's defunct. But people copied the list before they could take it down, and so it's out there in various places. And then I'll go through their site, and I'll point out to you these are the things I like about it. These are the things that I'm not happy about on the site. And then I'll say, make up your own mind. I'll say, I'll give you wishy-washy answer about, I won't say yes or no, basically, but I'll point you usually can tell the tenure of my answer or one of my librarian's answers, because we don't want to give you a yes or no exactly, because we might be wrong, but we'll give you a general direction. We're not too happy about this journal, or yeah, we think this is a pretty good journal for this reason and these reasons. And so that is what I mean by a predatory publication inquiry. Dr. Freeman, does that answer your question?
Well, Mr. Bright, I was way off base. Thank you for the thank you for the clarification, and I can appreciate how it is that it's to the universities and our researchers' benefit
Yes.
that we have this kind of an evaluative process in place. Certainly, I would not have answered that question accurately. So thank you very
And
much.
then we also do copyright inquiries. So that is sort of like plagiarizing and stuff. But usually it's, can I use this, or how do I use this, or how do I cite this or can I use this image in my article, or what are the copyright implications? And if we can't give the answer, or how do I publish a book, or what are the copyright implications in publishing a chapter in a book? If we don't have the answers, we refer you to the council of the university, who has a copyright lawyer on retainer. So we are the first copyright questions about that, and that's sort of on the plagiarism side. But for plagiarism, that's more of a, I don't know if we don't evaluate if other people are plagiarizing. I think that's like Turnitin or uh, uh, something else, that we don't do that. So
There are other software available
solutions
for
for that.
that, and I'm just ignorant of it. The number of years that I taught, it's been 5 years since I've been in the classroom as a instructor or an adjunct professor. So, and I always wondered if I was receiving primary work or if others were borrowing the fine work of others. And I haven't always been clear, and nor have I always tested. So it's helpful to know how we as instructors and professors can accomplish that double check.
The university has Turnitin. You have to check with your faculty and your school about your policies on using Turnitin. Some don't use it, some use it, some have licenses, some don't have licenses. And then there's always the caveat that if you're a second language speaker, your and it has AI components too. But if you use Grammarly, sometimes Grammarly will be picked up as plagiarism, where it's not plagiarism. It was just Grammarly changing around a sentence or two. And so there's caveats with using that software. So
Well, and AI appears to be the panacea these days. It's the new box, but I'm not always so sure that we can rely on AI to underscore our concerns as professors. So others might feel differently about that at this point. I'm just a bit of a skeptic, I would
yep,
say.
we have a vast range of opinions among our faculty and staff. So we're trying to navigate those changes as a whole school, university, department, library. We have a whole scoping review in our library going on AI use in health sciences librarians right now. So any other questions? Okay, thank you, everyone. I'll turn it back over to Dr. Roy. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me or your liaison librarian. Leslie Golam is here. She's our ASHES and SOMA liaison librarian. I have Julia Peters on the line right now. She's our KCOM liaison librarian. And I believe Laura Barkama and Mohammed Aslam are our communications, and she'll be our PA and AT librarian soon. And Mohammed is our electronic resources librarian, as well as Mari Mario, who is our library assistant. Maud Mundava is our CGHS and Mozo liaison librarian, and last but not least, I shouldn't say not least, but finally me, I am the ASDO and the PA librarian right now for those PA programs.
Thank you so very much, Hal. This has probably been something that we had needed forever to learn about. So thank you so very much for being here today and giving us a listen. We will have this video uploaded on YouTube as soon as possible. And if you need access to the slides, Hal, would you be able to share them? Okay,
Of
so
course.
just contact me and then we will send you.
And if you want us to do this at a faculty meeting, for a much shorter version of this, one of our liaison librarians would be happy to do this at one of your faculty meetings as well.
Well, Dr. M. Shitty has a question. Is there a website to check plagiarism?
I'm gonna defer to asking that to the Writing Center or the TLC. I'm sure there are, but I do not know the answer to that. That's not something that we usually defer to the Writing Center or TLC, Teaching and Learning Center, for those informations, or IT. But Turnitin is the official one that we have at the university, but you have to have a license for it, and so your department has to pay for it. I'm not exactly sure how that works, but we do have that available in the IT, from IT.
Well, thank you all. We have 3 more minutes. Just in case you have not noticed, I have put in the link to the internal grants website. You would need to have your ATSU login and password to get in. It's one of the resources that we have in the litany of internal grants that are available to faculty and students as well. So thank you so very much again, Hal, and hope to, see you or one of your colleagues, esteemed colleagues, soon, because the library keeps on, it's like, gives us multiple Christmases a year. So
yeah, I believe we have something. Maud is doing something in November with you with the Nexus. So
yeah.
Okay. Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you so
Take care.
much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.